Welcome to the How's My Financial Health Doc YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a mini series on human behavior and the behavior of investment.
I am a senior director and associate portfolio manager at Vector Global Canada. Vector Global is a portfolio manager. We're based in Toronto, but we are actually an American firm. We provide asset management to clients around the world. I myself am a former trader with one of the big banks in Canada, and I've been managing either individual or institutional assets for over 25 years.
Note, let's talk about songs of siren bias.
Okay.
And let's talk about emotional investing or decisions not based on fact, based on emotions, because it really ties to what you are saying. Financial advisors and financial planners dedicate a plan. We devise a plan. We follow that plan. And it has certain rules and has certain directions that we should take and stay the course. Whereas people who will buy and sell haphazardly, well, they're acting on either songs of sirens because everybody's getting in. Someone told me this is a great stock, or someone told me I need to stop, I need to sell, or I get worried, I get fearful, I get out of the market too soon, or I shouldn't even get out of the market, or I shouldn't even get out of that position. So let's drill down a little bit on that, or have I already discussed it?
Songs of Sirens this is an interesting one because I had never actually heard the term before. When you said it, It made sense to me, right? We all know the story of Odysseus. But then I didn't realize that there was like an actual bias that had been identified as that. But it makes sense to me, right? In what I have seen and experienced, that this is the case. The human brain loves to play tricks on us, right? That's what this is about. And this is classic. When I investigated the bias, I came across a very interesting quote. So this was someone who had quoted a book called The Little Book of Behavioral Investing by James Montier, is it?
I think it's a French name.
And it gives us a great example of this particular bias. The study participants were given statistical information on the effectiveness of a treatment for a fictitious serious disease. And when I read this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it sounds like COVID, right? So they were given this statistical information, and they were also given a story. But depending on the participant, it was either a positive, negative, or ambiguous story.
Yeah.
The subjects were then asked if they would undergo the treatment. The result, when a positive or negative story was presented, the statistical information didn't matter. The data didn't matter. It was almost completely ignored in favor of the story. This is what's so powerful about anecdotes. They change your mind about facts.
Yeah.
And I see this happening, for example, with COVID. So, for example, when the treatment was said to be 90% effective, and as a doctor, you can tell me how likely is it that treatment would be 90% effective, or how positive that is. But a negative story was included with the treatment. Only 39% of the people opted for that treatment. But when the treatment was only 30% effective, but it was given with a positive story, a good story, 78% of the subjects opted for the treatment.
Right.
The power of anecdotes, the power of stories, the power of herd mentality, that's what affects our investing. So whether it be in this medical setting or whether it be in investments, many times data is thrown out the window in favor of, these stories of your buddy making money and whatever. Humans love a good story.
A clear example of that, as you were talking about that, Bre-X is a clear example.
So I have that story.
You have that story.
Experience on Bre-X.
Let's share it. Let's share it.
Because humans love to be fed tales. This is why our entire organizations exist overseas that scam people in our country, right? Because they get told a story and they buy into it. So I had friends that invested in Bre-X. This was a stock from the 90s. For your listeners that may not remember Bre-X, this is now over 20 years ago.
20 years, yes.
Yeah. But this is a herd mentality story.
Yeah.
It really is.
And it's a fairy tale story too, right?
Yeah. It was a TSX darling, right? Gold developer finds a great reserve in Indonesia or something. I can't remember what the country was. And when the investors were making money, they looked like geniuses. But then eventually it turned out to be a scam. It went belly up and you didn't hear about it. See, this is the difference, Dr. Tran, is that is always the case. You never hear about the losses. The Song of the Siren is always about a great opportunity. When that opportunity turns out to be bunk,
yeah,
you never hear about it.
No.
Right? You only hear about the wins. So this story feeds into that herd mentality because Bre-X was the story for a while, just like Nortel was, just like BlackBerry was, but those weren't scams. Bre-X was actually literally a scam, just like Sinoforest. And like all of them, those stock certificates, because back then you used to get stock certificates. I remember hearing about people on the street just like throwing it out, giving it away as a what do you call it? Just a memento of the time. But I had friends that I worked. This is when I first started at the bank.
Yeah.
And I was starting off as a trainee, and my boss was invested in Bre-X. My colleagues were all invested in Bre-X, and they would talk about it every day. Hey, where's Bre-X right now? Oh, look at it. Oh, I'm a genius. And then when Bre-X went belly up, I didn't hear anything about that. In fact, I felt the stress with my work colleagues. These are people who worked in the industry and they were making this mistake. I felt they didn't say anything about Bre-X. Bre-X was at that point, a word that was not mentioned. It was not said. It was put in the sin bin, but you knew that everybody was watching that ticker. You knew everybody was reading that story that was saying that the geologist was killed or what have you. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. And as is almost always the case, it's the little guy, the individual investor, who usually winds up losing more because they usually take an overweight position in these, Song of Siren stories, right? Maybe he put half his money into Bre-X.
Well, get rich scheme, right? Get rich fast.
It really is. It really is.